This episode is slightly different because it is just really about the musings from my heart about kindness and the experience of kindness that I've recently had in a world that many people feel is turning unkind. The purpose of me sharing my stories and my musings and my thoughts with you today is to offer hopefully a beacon of hope and some inspiration and to call you to action, to kindness in your own way. It's also to give a different narrative. It's very easy to fall into the narrative of hate and isolation and marginalization. But there are other narratives that you can choose to participate in. There are other stories you can choose to tell through your words, through your actions, and yes, through kindness. Recently, I was on a trip in New York City. Actually, at the time of this recording, I got back last night. I was there for one night, coast to coast trip, and I thought I was doing well. For those of you who don't know, on January 15th, my father-in-law went back into the universe and rejoined his wife and my husband's mother to be with God. And we were all very close in a family. And I thought I was okay. And I still feel like I'm okay, but I didn't realize how squishy I was inside and how much support I really did need in different ways. So I fly to New York and I check in to the hotel. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this with a loved one, but saying goodbye costs money. And the money that we have invested and spent, and then the money cash flow with my business as an entrepreneur, et cetera, meant that my card got declined for the incidentals. That everything was, already booked, but I needed to put incidentals down on my card. And in that moment, I was like, I have a choice. I can choose to figure this out on my own, or I can ask for help. And in that moment, I felt that it was like the universe was giving me like a red pill or a blue pill. And I don't remember the Matrix that well to remember which one he chose to join the Matrix, but whatever pill that was, I chose a pill to like open my mind and open my heart when I asked for help. Because as the book Abraham Hicks wrote says, and asking it is given. And I called one of my coworkers who came down with their card and they checked me in for the incidentals. And it was in that moment that I realized that I didn't have to do everything on my own. And I started to feel the burden I was carrying in my heart about money struggles, about my father-in-law, about the well-being of my husband and being there for him emotionally, my business, my goals, my to-do list, all of the things I felt the burden of, but it felt lighter knowing that help was available. I checked in, I went to sleep, I woke up the next day, and I was leaving that day. I was only there for one night. And I don't know the last time you have been to New York, but it is not like suitcase friendly. And I was with another one of my coworkers, and not only was it snowing and icy, but it was also 10 degrees. I, as a California girl, do not regularly experience 10-degree weather. So there was that. And we were traipsing across New York City with my suitcase, which was less than ideal, in the subway, up and downstairs. And my coworker basically just took on my suitcase as his own and helped me. And it wasn't that he helped me. It was the way that actually both of my coworkers helped me, with a smile, with an open heart, almost with gratitude to be of service. And that was the second moment when I realized that kindness is available if I was available to it. I could have, again, in that moment, decided to say, no, I got this. I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need nobody. But I didn't. I allowed myself to be the squishy inside that I was surprised to feel. And because of that, I received kindness. When I got to the subway, my card wasn't working. This time I had more money on it because I had gotten some money in my account that had finally cleared that I thought I was going to clear the day before. But it wasn't working. And a random New Yorker swiped me into the subway. New Yorkers have a a kind of stereotype of being kind of grouchy and grumpy. That was not my experience, even though that was the narrative. That wasn't the narrative I was experiencing in that moment. I was experiencing kindness. And when I decided to let go of the narrative of what I thought I should be experiencing, I got to experience a better one. Then we go on the subway, we do our thing with this client, crushed it, BT dubs. And I head to the airport. And I realized I had points so that I was going to be in a middle seat for the 6-hour flight. Instead, I ended up in an exit row in an aisle, which was chef's kiss ideal. And when I got there, the middle seat was empty. So it was me in the aisle, the middle seat. And then I knew someone was probably going to sit in the window. And someone did. This Latino man with a bright red MAGA hat on. I mean, it said, "Make America Great Again." It was the biggest MAGA hat I've seen. I don't know if they come in different sizes or what, but it almost like the size of the hat made me feel like it was like the size of his affiliation with Trump. And I was confronted with like, well, what does this mean? Sitting on this airplane with this man, and all of the narratives of MAGA followers came into my head. The racism, the bigotry, the lack of intelligence. And I'm just saying all of this because this is what I felt. And I felt, the first thing that I felt was, am I going to be safe as a Black woman on this airplane next to this man? And I was like, and then I was like, what the heck is he going to do to me? Lynch me on the plane? I was like, that's probably not going to happen. The worst thing he's going to do is maybe be rude. And actually, none of that happened. Not only was this man really nice, kind, we had great conversation every once in a while, because I'm not a conversationalist on an airplane. I like to just sit there and like zone out or work. And it made me realize that the narrative that I was being fed is true for a lot of people. So I'm not dropping it completely now. I'm not like, I was one of the 92% of the Black women that voted for Kamala. Do not get it twisted. But it's not true for everyone. And the narrative and the expectation and the stereotypes don't have to cloud my view when I'm talking on an individual level. I can choose to engage from a place of curiosity, kindness, humanity. The flight attendant in our section was a Black woman who was very nice from the first moment we entered. And she passed by one of the times with the food and beverage, and I ordered a scotch and ginger. And she's like, "It's on me." And she plopped down 3 bottles of scotch on my table. She looked at me with the most kind look, looked at him, and it was almost like, "Girl, I got you. I know that you are a Black woman in this row with this MAGA hat guy, and what that must be doing to you on the inside." Again, moment of kindness. I'd opened myself to kindness, and kindness was flooding in. I'd opened myself to new narratives, and new narratives were flooding in. And I offer that to you because you can also choose to participate in kindness, regardless of what the news cycle is saying, regardless of what the feelings are that you're being told you're supposed to feel. Oh, you're a Black woman. You should be feeling tired or angry or frustrated. That's what shapes your identity now. Because in order to be part of this world, that must be what you are experiencing. And all that narrative does is tell you that you are tired and angry and frustrated. But does that open you up for kindness? Does that do anything positively for your life? Does that open you up to experience compassion in unexpected places and to give that in return? Maybe you or me who didn't have enough money in my account at the time to check into my hotel. Or maybe you or me who whose car didn't work in the subway. Or maybe you were me who really needed a scotch and ginger to kind of calm myself, was sitting next to this, turns out really nice, MAGA guy. Or maybe you were the flight attendant. Maybe you were the New Yorker who used their subway card for me. Maybe you were the coworker who swiped me in. Maybe you were the coworker who carried my luggage. All of this happened in a 24-hour span in freezing cold temperatures in a city that is stereotypically full of grouchy people. And yet, kindness existed. And yet, right after the inauguration, sitting next to a MAGA guy, I was able to find safety and a shared sense of humanity. So I ask you, how can your narrative support you? And how can you find a supportive narrative? Because right now, we are in a transition within humanity. How are you going to show up in this transition? It transcends way beyond politics. It transcends way beyond finances. And I want you to pay attention to see if you are choosing your own narrative or if you're letting somebody else choose it for you. And if that narrative is truly helpful to you and your life experience and to that of someone else's or not. Or if you're being riled up into an anger and frustration and stress that is not yours to own. Today and every day, I encourage you to choose love. I encourage you to choose light. I encourage you to choose abundance. I encourage you to write your own narrative as a powerful creator of your story and the story of others that you can decide to participate in. Everyone thinks that, I'm writing my own story and I'm the only one. But if you look around, that's not true. Every single person that showed me kindness was a part of my story and changed my story and changed my perspective. So you, yes, are the ultimate author of your story, but you play a role in every story of every person that you are around, that you walk by, that you choose to see, that you choose to acknowledge it. You choose kindness as the key narrative element of your character. Well, I'm glad I got that off of my chest. If you want to talk to me about kindness, if you want to figure out how to show kindness to yourself, to others, if you want to share a kind moment that you've experienced, if you want to take today as your sign that you want to begin your new story, I'd love to hear it. Email me directly, aleya@aleyaharris.com, aleyaharris.com. I want to hear about it. I'm a strategic storytelling consultant because I've monetized the ability to make stories, even if cash flow sometimes sucks as an entrepreneur and you have to wait a day because of holiday and the bank payments for cash to clear. I love stories, whether I monetize them or not. And I'm so glad that you're listening to me, which means that I get to be a part of yours. And I'm encouraging you on this one-way platform where you hear my voice and I don't get to hear yours, to let me hear your story. I am genuinely interested. With that, my name is Aleya Harris. This is the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast, and I wish you lots and lots of love, light, and abundance. This is the final episode for season 4. The next episode that you're going to hear is brand spanking new for season 5, where we're talking all about storytelling and public speaking. Until then, lots of love to you and lots of kindness. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Aleya Harris. Vibing with what you hear? Leave a 5-star review to spread the love and be sure to click subscribe. We wish you love, light, and abundance. See you next time.